I just recently had an experience that changed my life. And there was one employee in particular that I've just always struggled with. I went to perplexity, and one of them was narcissism. I never did a deep dive into narcissism. The more I watched and learned, the more I connected the dots, and I was able to understand why this relationship was causing me sleepless nights, doubting myself, gaslighting.
Welcome to Unlock Potential with David Archibald, and today I have a special guest with me, and we're gonna do something a little different today. We're gonna talk about soft skills a little bit, and everyone has to deal with other people. And there are some things that us old guys have learned over the years. And so, Chris, what are some of the things that you found? Chris Walker from Vietnam Factory Tours, what's some of the stuff that you were talking to me earlier about that I think is really interesting?
So I just recently had an experience that changed my life, and I'm happy to be able to share it with you and your listeners. And that is, I work in a company and where there's many employees, and there was one employee in particular that I've just always struggled with. And I went to Perplexity, which is the AI search, and I just described the challenges that I was having with that person. And Perplexity came back with some ideas, and one of them was narcissism. And I never heard about narcissism. I never did a deep dive into narcissism. And so then I went to YouTube, and I started watching videos about narcissistic personality disorder and how to coexist with narcissists. And the more I watched and learned, the more I connected the dots, and I was able to understand why this relationship that I was having at work was causing me sleepless nights, doubting myself, gaslighting. There's something called triangulation, which is what narcissists are very good at doing. They will talk to other people, and then those people, they'll basically tell lies to other people in the organization, and those people it'll eventually come back around to you. And then you find yourself defending these lies that were told, and it's very negative. And so the takeaway is, number one, whatever problem you have, there's a solution. Number two, you can explore your problem in private. Obviously there's counseling, there's self-help groups, Alcoholics Anonymous, that's kind of the old school way of getting help, all that. Mothers Against Drunk Driving, But it's not very comfortable to have to, admit that you've got a problem or you have a problem with somebody else. But now, in the privacy of your own home with your laptop, you almost have unlimited resources.
Oh, we do now. Yeah.
So that's a summary of my, how do I say, just something I'm very happy about, and I'm grateful for all these other YouTubers that have shared their knowledge and experience with narcissism, which has helped me manage this really toxic relationship that I had at work. So how about you?
Well, first off, does a narcissistic person know they have that problem? In your experience?
Yeah, no, they don't.
Exactly.
Yeah,
okay.
that's the thing. And how do I say? Actually, it gets pretty deep into psychology.
Yeah.
Usually, but I think all dysfunctional personality disorders sadly start in the first 10 years of our life.
Sure.
Things happen to us when we're children. And when we're children, between the ages of 3 to 7 is when our minds are sponges, and we're open, and we need safety, and we need love, and we get it from the people around us. And if most usually our parents, And if, unfortunately, if you're born into a family where one or both parents have their own toxic issues, you absorb it, and you take it on. And so you can almost, if you're like at work and you're having a challenge with somebody, one of two things is going on. Either it's you, in which case you have to be introspective, and you have to do some self-analysis and keep an open mind about yourself, or you have to be extrospective and learn, study, look for patterns, and understand the people that you're interacting with. And that's where learning about narcissism helped me, because now I understand the signs of narcissism. I know how to ask questions that bring out the worst in the narcissist. And I know how to respond, and I know what to do now. And I didn't know before.
That's good.
So back to you.
Well, I was it just reminded me about blind spots, and a lot of us don't know that there's an issue that we have, because A, we don't ask for it, and B, the people around us don't want to tell you because they don't want to make you mad or offend you. And understanding your blind spots, and I think that's super important in leadership, and you're running a company, is to understand what those are, and to confine in some of your staff and say, hey, what are these things that I'm doing that you don't like so much? And so you get that feedback to be able to do that. And when you're talking about the kids, I was always taught that your language to your little kid will become their inner voice in the future. And you say, oh, you're idiot, or you don't know what you're doing, you're stupid, or whatever, man, and that stuff sticks. And breaking the cycle of whether it's narcissistic behavior or other traits, it's pretty hard. One of the things also that I felt is, when you're interacting with people, in my own mindset, I try to think, what does this person want me to feel? What is it that they really want me to feel here? Because, and then to be more open. And one of my blind spots was not listening very good. So, I really try to listen better, because, it's a critical skill that you need in life.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of my favorite sayings is that God gave us 2 ears and one mouth for a reason.
That's right.
Yeah. But another thing that I learned recently is this idea of like counting to 5, like when you feel yourself wanting to speak, or you feel yourself getting emotionally charged, I'm trying to train myself to count to 5 and breathe. Just be aware of one's breath. So now, a lot of this stuff I've learned on shorts. On Instagram.
Sure.
This year I'm trying to be more social media friendly, because I'm trying to build my own channel. So I'm like, okay, well, if I want people to enjoy my channel and learn from me, then I should go and see what other people are doing. Right. And on Instagram, I found some really amazing channels where they share lessons learned from famous people, like Steve Jobs and a bunch of others. And I've learned a lot of great stuff, like the 5-second rule and the breathing and about narcissists. Like one thing I learned is this idea of using cognitive dissonance as a weapon. Weaponizing cognitive dissonance. It's a pretty deep concept. First, weaponizing something is already kind of like, what? And then cognitive dissonance, that's where like me telling you this is wine, and you're like, no, it's not, it's water. I'm like, no, it's wine. And if I keep telling you enough times, after a while you'll just be like, okay, whatever, it's wine. Right? But your brain knows it's not wine. That's cognitive dissonance. And that's something that narcissists do very well, is they just keep telling you nonsense, and after a while that nonsense becomes reality. and then that's cognitive dissonance. And it shuts down the brain, and it leads to something else that I learned about, which is called learned helplessness. I saw a short on it where the teacher did an experiment in the class, and if if someone is teaching you nonsense, after a while you just give up, and you take on a helpless mentality, and you just give up.
Yeah.
And that's not good.
No.
Yeah. So
definitely not.
Yeah.
No, I think that the ability to self-talk yourself, I think is really, people don't use it, because if you let your mind tell you things, usually you're going to be like, oh, this is bad, this is even worse, oh man, this guy's. But if you actually force intentionally to say, things are okay, things are better, I can do this, this too will pass, and the self-talk aspect is incredibly important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thoughts are things.
Yes, but in both things, in everything you're talking about, is you have to be intentional. And if you're an intentional learner, that's where the magic happens. I think we all get caught scrolling and looking at stuff, and our algorithms start to match who we are. And to really be intentional, to study something like your intentionality, to find out how this narcissist ticked, I mean, that's where the gold is. So I think you really have to be intentional in what you're looking for. Yeah.
Speaking of learning online, Alex Hormozi, amazing. I've watched a lot of his content. I've learned so much. And one of the things that he does is he always tries to define his terms. And one of his big things is like defining learning. What does it mean to learn? And basically it means that whatever you do today, you do something different tomorrow. Because we all learn we learn new things all the time, but we don't actually change.
Yes.
And so like with me and this relationship, this toxic relationship with one of my coworkers, now that I've got the knowledge, I've got to change. And right. If I don't change, the knowledge is useless and the problem will continue. So and I've always had the belief that, like they say, old dogs cannot learn new tricks, and sadly I think it's true. I don't know I would say 90% of people literally cannot change. What do you think?
I think that the day you stop learning is the day you start dying. I mean, I think that, but everyone has a burden, everyone's carrying something, and if that is really big, they turn off their ability to even think about something that's new, and everybody has problems, but how we respond or react to those problems really defines who you are. I think that I was always told, you don't react to anything, respond to it, take time, reflect on what happened, and then action. And as a leader, in my old days, man, I was a reactor big time. I was a nuclear reactor. But now, as you get a little older, you start to be able to reflect, okay, well, similar to this situation I had before, and here's the outcome. Maybe I should look at responding instead of reacting. And I think that everyone is so defensive, and that leads me up to something else is right now, the number one way to sell something is fear. Okay, so the news is all fear. Even you see these top performing YouTube videos, the headlines are always some ridiculously a lie or something in this fear, self-fear, because I know our brains are wired to really pay attention to fear. And now it's being weaponized against us, I think. And I think that's really, really gonna, hurt certain people in the future, I think.
Well, that brings up another very interesting topic, is like, how will AI help humanity? And like it's the classic debate: is the nature of humans overall good, or is human nature bad? And now we've got to ask the question: will the nature of AI, robots, will it be good or will it be bad? And assuming they don't program it. Of course, if you program AI, you use a language model that, is told to be bad and evil. I imagine it could be. But if AI just left home, because what it means is when we go out to get help and we start asking, rather than asking humans, hey, I need help, can you help me?
Yeah.
Who knows, maybe 5 years from now, every office, every home will have a robot like Elon Musk has started, and I'm sure many other companies have. And those robots are thinking for themselves using, I don't know the technology, and then we'll ask them, like when I'm home alone with a robot and I'm sad, I'm depressed, and I've got a problem with a coworker. So I ask the robot and I just tell him, I say, here's my problem.
I think that you'll be able to switch it to psychiatrist mode, lawyer mode, banker mode. Okay, now I need you to be an expert banker, and how should I go about doing this? And I think that's kind of what's happening. Whether it's in a robot form or not, maybe we'll see. But I think that things are going to move so incredibly fast now. I think that even by the time we you wrap your head around one type of AI solution, there's already 4 new generations of a different type, and eventually someone will win this race, right? There's a lot of different people doing that, like how all the search engines used to be. You had Ask Jeeves and Yahoo, and then when Google finally came up, and then it just raised up, and everyone else kind of fell down. So I think we'll see that in the next couple of years, where there'll be one system that everybody is really hooked into.
Or there will be pushback. For example, like you're doing this podcast. I don't do a podcast, but I'm trying to build my YouTube channel. Part of us could say, why bother? Why to do these live interactions?
Yeah.
It's old school,
Sure.
Now you can generate content just by using AI. You don't need all this audio visual equipment. You don't need to hire professionals who know how to edit and all that. But on the flip side, I feel like there's an innate counterbalance within humans that the more AI becomes popular, the more people are going to be starving for real personal interactions.
Yes.
It's like I always joke with my kids, my boys, they're on their phone. I'm like, when it's time for you to have a girlfriend and hold her hand and have your first kiss, how is being able to play games on phone going to help you with that? And so I'm like, maybe you should get off the phone and learn how to interact with the opposite sex, because there's going to come a time when the phone is not going to be able to help you have a good, positive relationship with your girlfriend. Yeah. And, that in the case of having positive physical relationships with the opposite sex, that need is not going to go away. And I don't know. There could be sex robots.
Sure. I'm sure
I've
there
seen
will
stuff
be.
on that, but I just can't imagine it being the same.
No, I think basic communication skills will be in need big time in the near future. I think that's going to be something different. Okay, I'm going to switch it up a little bit for you. One of the things I do with my channel is unlock potential, right? And as we wrap up today, I want you to let your grandkids know what your dream is for them and your kids, because 30 years from now, they're going to pull this up and they're going to see Grandpa Chris on there, and they're going to, and I want to ask you, what is it that you want them to know? How can they unlock their own potential?
How can they unlock their own potential? Integrity and being honest with yourself and calling a spade a spade. As soon as we lie to ourselves or we lie to each other, that's when things go south. And so the most important thing is, part of it is just lucky, being born into a family that values integrity, number one. Number two, if you're not born into a family with integrity and you're able to move out from that family, then surround yourself by people who value logic, stoicism, objectivity, and truth. You know, I'm a big Ayn Rand follower, and she ironically she grew up in communist Russia, and then she immigrated into the US, and then she was working in the movie industry, and she also became an author, and she took capitalism that was started by the forefounders of America, and then she developed it into a formal philosophy of objectivism. And a lot of people hate her because she's just tells the truth, nothing but the truth, and everything is based on axioms, which are basic fundamental truths. Which the most fundamental truth is what's called the law of identity, A equals A. And that comes down to definitions, which is what Alex Hormozi is about. This is a plastic bottle of water. You know, this is a wooden table. This is a microphone. And step number one is to define everything and make sure that we all use the same vocabulary. And then from there, we build more complicated, more detailed arguments. And essentially, you get into the scientific method, coming up with hypotheses, then testing your hypotheses to create theories. Like, for example, I just was talking to my kids the other day about how we're talking about Einstein and E equals mc squared, and I was trying to explain to my son about how energy is turned into matter and matter can be turned into energy. But now with the advent of quantum physics, some people are saying that Einstein's theory of relativity is, you can prove it wrong. So it's a constant process of learning, and always keeping an open mind, and using the scientific method. And kudos to people like Elon Musk that are really pushing the envelope. I mean, it just blows me away that he sets the goal of putting people on Mars, you know. But it's those kind of people that think outside the box and challenge themselves and challenge the people around them to take on any problem and come up with solutions, solutions that work.
Yeah, that's right.
And so, you know, I would just stick to the truth, have ambition and dreams, work together with people to achieve your goals, and always make sure that happiness is part of that. Enjoy life, because life is short, and every moment that goes by, you never get it back.
That's right. That's right. Boy, that's great. I hope your boys watch that for sure, and I hope that influences your great grandkids and their great grandkids at some point. So that's really awesome.
How about you? What are you going to tell your grandkids?
Well, I would say that the number one thing I want you to be is kind. I want you to be kind to everybody. Show everyone respect. Go out of your way to make someone's day happy. And then truly be intentional on what you want to do. Don't let things happen to you. Make things happen for you. I think that there's 3 key things that you need to do. You need to, number one, control your thinking and look for solutions over problems. Find the solution in it, and that's where your focus and your energy goes. The next thing is you gotta let your habits create the action and your feelings, not your feelings controlling what your habits are. And the last one is it takes action. You have to do it. You have to get up. You have to do whatever it is you need to do to provide for your family, to help out the people you love. It takes action. So those are my things for my great grandkids or my kids, is unlock the potential that God gave you. You know, one of the things that, one of the main reasons I even do this at all was for legacy, is to be able to say, hey, this is who my grandpa was, because one of my heroes is my grandpa, and I'd kill to have anything that, you know, had him talking on it. And the unlocked potential comes from when David Goggins was on an interview one time, and he said, you know, you died, you go to heaven, and you're up there, and Jesus is there, and he's standing with a guy, and who, you know, is something other than yourself, and God says, this is what I had planned for you, was this guy. This is your potential. And who, you know, and then he talks about how he was in the, you know, killing roaches, and he was 300 pounds, and, you know, he was just letting things happen instead of being intentional. So that's partly where I'm at with this. Yeah.
You know, raising children has been one of the greatest experiences in my life, because I learned so much from my children. And in trying to think about how to help my children, first I had to help myself. And what I realized is, I asked 3 questions. Where do we come from? Nobody knows. And after we pass away, where do we go? Nobody knows. Everyone has opinions, but if you use science, cannot tell us without a doubt where we come from and where we go. So then the third question is, so then what is our purpose here on life? What is our purpose here while our heart is beating and the electrons, neurons are firing in our brain? And the fact is, there is no right or wrong purpose. You make your purpose.
That's right.
You create your mission.
Right.
When after I graduated from university, I worked in a restaurant for a while, and there was a British guy. He was a cook, and back then I was grappling with the purpose of life and religion and God. And I asked him one day. I said, "What is God? Who is God?" And he just, with a very calm, straight face, he looked at me and said, "You are." And I believe that. I believe that we are all God. We're all that infinite energy, and it really is up to each of us to create our own purpose, our own mission, and then, as you said, take action, be kind, follow the golden rule, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you, and you'll have an amazing experience on this planet.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's great stuff. Well, it's been awesome chatting with you today, Chris.
Yes.
Appreciate it. I will link in the show notes the previous podcast I had with Chris, and Chris is an amazing connector, and to be able to help people that want to manufacture something in Vietnam. So I'll link that in, and you can go check that out. And I really appreciate you watching today. Thank you very much. Please subscribe and like and share this, and maybe someone can really get some benefit out of it. So thanks again.